This is the mouth of the River Shannon, the largest river in the British Isles, looking west out towards the Atlantic Ocean. To the left is the oil-fuelled Tarbert Power Station. And on the right, now surrounded by an aesthetic scattering of wind turbines, is the coal-burning Moneypoint Power Station. From this viewpoint, I sometimes imagined what an enormous statue standing across the moat might look like. Maybe like the mythical bronze Colossus of Rhodes, a giant statue of the sun god Helios straddling the harbour of Mandrakion. This is Moneypoint again, looking northeast from the shore near Ballylongford in Kerry, near the site where a massive liquid natural gas, or LNG, storage terminal is planned to be built in the next few years. Despite having the word natural as part of its name, LNG is pretty dirty and harmful to the environment. Much of the LNG to be stored here will come from harmful and controversial fracking operations in the United States. The argument is that Ireland needs more energy security. A local politician said that the decision to build the plant was a victory over ideological dogma. There is, of course, local opposition to the plan and conflicting interests. The decision that communities are often forced to make between environmental stability, clean air, quiet waterways, and economic security. This is Tony Lowes, environmental campaigner and co-founder of the lobby group Friends of the Irish Environment. I first came across him through this article he wrote for Village magazine in 2010, about how lawmakers and policymakers had been doing almost nothing to protect the ring forts that are scattered all over Ireland. Ring forts are historical circular enclosures, often from the early medieval period, and are protected by Irish law. In Irish folk memory, they are also the dwelling places of fairies and other spirits of the landscape. Tony and me talked about the cultural, environmental and human costs of industrial expansion in the west of Ireland.
Yeah, and these unwritten policies like the industrialisation of the west of Ireland. Now, if they had that in mind, and okay, you can have that in mind, you have a plan, so you do a strategic environmental assessment. What is it going to mean if you decide to industrialise the Shannon Basin and the areas around it? In what ways can we control this? What ways can we allow the necessary development while at the same time maintaining a quality of life for the people and our environment and our artistic heritage? But you don't do that when you're just going in with an LNG project. It's far too specific and far too low down to have any kind of ability for us to deal with those issues. So it's this. There's a real reluctance in the Irish government's part to analyse projects at the highest level, and I think that that's become almost systematic now. I think they are very human, our politicians, and I think they have a fairly good understanding of what unemployment means, what all the problems that society has. But I think that they believe in a kind of holy grail of development, that if we could bring more jobs to Limerick, that'll sort everything out. And of course, it doesn't sort out anything. It puts more people into a housing market that isn't ready for them. It gives nothing back to the culture. If there's any, when we see these developments, if there's anything in them that looks like it might be good for the area, the creches or the buses or the accesses, whatever, they're left on the long finger to the end, and then the developer goes out of business and they're never done. So the idea that development is a holy grail, I believe that's embedded in our politicians' heads. And I don't think that they're open to any argument about that. I don't think they're open to any argument about the fact that more is better, that in the relationship between supply and demand, the one we address is increase the supply. We never think, how can we mitigate this demand? How can we maintain our quality of life without sucking life out of wherever it is we're going?
The industrial expansion of the West can be traced directly to here, Foynes Port. A new road and rail line are being built, linking it to Limerick City to facilitate fuel and animal fodder imports. But curiously, this new road and rail line won't be going in a straight line. It will curve south and around the historic town of Adare to help alleviate its notorious traffic jam. The deadline to finish this new road is September 2027 for the Ryder Cup golf competition between Europe and America, to be held at the beautiful and exclusive Adare Manor, owned by billionaire J.P. McManus. Could this be Ireland's Colossus of roads? On the grounds of Adare Manor, I found a little cedar grove with a collection of ogham stones, neatly arranged in a semicircle for the pleasure of passing golfers. These were brought here from South and West Kerry in the early 19th century by Lady Dunraven of Adare Manor, who had an interest in amateur archaeology. The inscriptions are names, probably used to commemorate notable individuals. Some of them may have been grave markers. This flat stone in the centre has a strange symbol, maybe an early Coptic Christian articulation of some spiritual mystery. It was removed from a ring fort in Ballydavid, County Kerry in 1816. Some of them show signs of damage and repair. Here is the little grove of Ogham stones at Adare Manor. A few hundred metres to the north and west is the townland of Ardshanbally, in Irish, Ardshanbally, which loosely translated would mean something like the important or highest old place. At the highest point of Ardshanbally was a ring fort. The new road development runs right through Ardshanbally Fort. Archaeologists working ahead of the diggers and dump trucks unearthed a tiny treasure where Ardshanbally Fort used to be, a bronze broach-pin. The National Museum rushed to prepare it for an exhibition on medieval Ireland's connections to mainland Europe. I had to go see what its new home would be like. I assumed it would be at the centre of the exhibit, but it took me ages to find it, among several other brooches. I wondered what Earth's movements had caused them to surface. Finally, I found it, pinned to a plinth and given the number 3. Tony Lowes had been in touch to tell me about a case the Friends of the Irish Environment are working on against a quarry near Adare, where much of the material for the new road is coming from. When I looked at a satellite image, I saw it was surrounded by ring forts. I decided I had to visit at least one of them. This one, a beautiful trenched enclosure in a townland called Rockfort.